not official on the other one, are we?
Not yet. I don't think, not yet, but he's in also if this record can be confirmed.
Okay, let's talk about that next week once it's confirmed.
Right.
Let's not, just in case. But local fighter out of the war room. Do you know about this?
No.
Yeah, local fighter. You know Lee Brusso?
Yeah.
We had Lee Brusso
Yeah,
here on
He
the
just
show.
went to Tough 11 tryouts and he made top 16.
So Lee Brusso is in the house.
No, not in the house. He's fighting to get his spot in the house.
He's fighting to get his spot in the house.
Right.
So what does that entail, Jen? Do you know?
So it'd be one of
I know
32
from-
then. He was a huge 205 pounder.
One of the 32, yeah.
So there was there's a 32.
It's 32, then it's just like what you see on
They have
the
five
very
units in the
beginning.
house.
Whoever
16
fights,
fight,
16
16
fight.
16 get in.
16 get in, yeah. So,
Really?
yeah.
So now there's
I got
so he
texted
won
at
his
1
fight.
o'clock in the morning by Beth Ravel. She's like, we made it!
Wow.
So he's got about 2 weeks, he said, until then he finds out whenever he goes back to start
Well,
fighting.
let's see if we can get Lee on the show next week. That would be incredible.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's back or not yet,
Okay.
but I'll find out tomorrow.
So he won his fight down there.
Yes,
They
he
went
did.
from 32 down to the 16.
No, he went from like hundreds and
It was
thousands.
a cattle call.
Yeah, it was a
Thousands
cattle
of
call down
Right.
in Vegas. And,
He
or
got
no,
picked-
LA.
He got picked to be one of the 32.
One of the 32 that fight on the show to make the top 16 to go in the house.
Right. The winners of those fights, out of those 32, get to go into the house.
Right.
So
And,
he was one of the 32 that won.
correct.
So he's the
They got
16 remaining, and he'll go into the
Man,
house.
what a
No.
great
They haven't done
representative
they haven't done
for
the
this.
fights yet. They picked 32.
So it's still at 32. He's not
It's
at
at
16.
32.
Right.
But he
fight.
made it out of like thousands and thousands of people.
He's one of the
Okay,
6.
but he doesn't know he hasn't won that fight yet to go in the house.
No.
Correct. He
That's
doesn't.
in
We won't
December.
know any of that
Does he
until
have to
that.
fight to go into the house?
He has to fight to go into the
Everybody
house.
does.
Yeah.
That's what
Everybody
it's
does.
32
And then
finalists,
Right.
and then they fight, and they're down to 16 then, and the winners of each one.
What
Right,
they do
right.
on these cattle calls is they pick 32 people, and those 32 will meet, I believe it's in December for this one. They fight, the 16 winners go into the house.
Right.
Ah,
So he's in
Right.
that.
So it's
He's
Yeah.
got
So we
pilot
won't.
training.
I mean, obviously, we won't know what happens because they make you sign a $5 million confidentiality agreement once you get to that 32.
Now
So
there-
we won't know if he's made it or not. We just have to wait until the show airs.
There is another local MMA pro fighter who won a right to be one of those 32 fighters. They just have to verify his record.
Yeah, and then I know a couple other people that I haven't heard from yet. I know Doug Sauer from Full Contact Fitness went out there, and there were several people.
Was he
that-
fighting Doug himself?
Yeah, Doug's got an extensive Muay Thai and background in Colorado. He trained with Shane Carwin, all those guys. He's good friends with them, and so yeah, I think he thought he'd take the last run at it too. And so there's a lot of people from this area that
We
when I
get
know.
2 or 3 people in there out of the St. Louis area.
That would be
Well, I know the
fantastic.
hit squad.
Incredible for martial arts in the
The hit squad sent several people. Jermaine Andre sent some people.
All to LA?
Yeah, all to LA because that's the only place they were doing it for the 185ers. So,
Oh.
you know, if you-
185ers?
yeah, 185 was.
Apparently, our
Russo?
audio's not working.
It was a second ago out there.
It's still working out there. I can hear it.
Oh.
Jim, you want to check for us?
Yeah.
But Lee Brusso's going to fight at 185.
He can't make 185. He can't make 205 hardly.
He's a
He's a
huge
monster.
205er.
You know what? I don't
He will for that.
I don't know. Apparently, he made weight, so I'm not sure which weight.
Well, they
he
had
was,
guys
but
at all
he was.
weights then. They were talking about the 85 and the 205 is my understanding. I'm not
So
official
maybe
on
they're
it.
doing
They
2 weights.
used to have
And then
2 weight classes
And
every
then they're
time.
telling them, if you want to be on the show, you're going to have to be 85. And these guys are saying, okay, you know. And Lee's a smart guy, nutritionist, you know, into fitness and nutrition. And if there's a way for him to do it, he'll do it. And, you know, we're just going to have to cross our fingers. But I'm hoping there ends up being several guys from this area that end up making it. We're just,
Oh, that would be fantastic for
you know, it was
MMA in
just
this
Monday,
area.
right? It was Monday and Tuesday, so they're all just getting back into town, and we'll hear more and find out more as things go on. But we're hoping there's more than just Lee, but we're happy for Lee to get the opportunity to get a fight to see if he gets in the house. And it can change your
He's
life.
34.
So yeah, and it's the time
So
to make that
popular
run.
too in this area.
I
When
think it's
Oh,
hard
yeah,
for a
very
guy in
Nice
his 30s.
guy,
yeah.
just
Very
a
nice.
great guy.
Once you get in your 30s, I think it's hard to be in the house with all those idiots. That'd be the hardest part.
Yeah, but you know what? It's like boot camp. You know, you only got to get.
But I
through
don't want to be
it
in boot camp with a bunch of young idiots.
No,
either.
but it's something you got to do for for, you know, what you signed up to do, and, hell, maybe other
Actually,
people thought
I
I
think
was.
for Lee to be at the UFC at this point in his fighting, you know, at 30, this is his chance.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, it's your price to get
couple
in.
pro fights in the UFC,
Well, the
man.
guys from that have gone through the houses
I
have
just
all
like to see
done,
that.
a lot of them are doing very well.
They really have. They've done incredible.
They figured out things make work. They figured out they've got a chance to meet people from all over. They're being invited to camps all over because they're being recognized and everything. So the opportunities are unlimited.
Personally, myself, I'd rather see some of the older, I mean, 34 is obviously not old, but it's older than the 20-year-olds who are in their peonies toast food.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
I agree with you. I mean, most of us don't want to see that.
You know,
And they
yeah,
put it on
it
for
makes
the
for
people
good controversy
who are
on
into,
TV, but
you know, the real television. I mean, I won't watch anything that, you know, that, what do they call reality TV? I can't stand it. But, you know, when it's UFC reality TV, it's different. 'Cause
That's
that's
survivalist or whatever. I don't want
Survivor, whatever, yeah.
I have trouble
All right,
watching Ultimate Fighting now.
Let's talk about, before we get into your show, Jim, and we'll spend a few minutes on that, let's talk about the promoters and matchmakers in 2009. You know, I'll be honest, because, you know, he's my partner here on the show, but Jim, I think you're about as good as matchmaker as they have here in St. Louis, and you put on a pretty good promotion, too.
Well, I appreciate that. It's not one of the bigger shows, you know, I mean, we're
It's a
talking
very
about.
good show, though, but the reason I say that, so many of your matches that you put together, whether they're the best guys in the area or not, they go into the second and third round a lot more than almost any other show that I've been to.
Well, I appreciate it. That's nice to say, and I'll say it again, it's the fighters that really bring it that night to them. I try and put on a good enough event and match them fair enough that it's a big deal to them, that they bring it, that they want to win, that they want to perform. And they do. They tend to, and I'm lucky enough to deal with some of the better gyms in this area, and they, you know, they work with me too. There's no way for any one guy to know all about these fighters.
right.
And I'm lucky enough to have a real good relationship where all of the training camps that I deal with are dead honest with me. Those that weren't, I don't deal with anymore.
Right.
And, you know, we've talked about it on the show lots of times. The days of the independents are going. The only independents that I see that are getting used regularly are guys that are either highly reliable or come highly recommended or are on their way to it. They finally realize that they need to hook up with a camp, and they've started with a certain camp.
Right.
You know, so the quality of fighters is getting better and better, and it is hard to match them with beginning guys. I love matching. It's great when we all get the good fighters in this area. We all get the top 2 or 3 guys. We've all, you know, the better promotions. Patrick Smith.
Well,
I've
since
been
you all
lucky-
do it at the same time, essentially, every month,
Yeah.
you can't all have the very best fighters. But I go back to, you might not have number 1 and number 2 in your event. You always have a lot of top-ranked fighters, though, throughout the fights. You know, they might be 6, 7, 8, and they're still great fights. But
We've all had good, you know, the top tier fighters on there, but some of my favorite fights are the guys that have had 0, 1, 2 fights and matched them against another up-and-comer. There's 2 guys that I've already got my mind on that I want to match together in probably February because I've watched them both. They both have 1
don't
fight.
tell anybody.
I'm
All
not
those
going to.
matchmakers out
They
there.
both have 1 fight. They're one of them's fighting in November, the other one's fighting and they're both fighting again in December. And I see these 2 guys as 2 up-and-comers that are going to meet later, and it won't hurt either one of them to lose to the other one because they're both talented kids that are growing. The thing is keeping up with them. Do they grow at the same level? You know, it's not just number of fights. I mean, we all know there's guys with 10 fights and a guy with 2 fights,
And the guy with 2 fights is 10 times better than the guy with
Right.
10, 20 fights.
And
I just got a text from another matchmaker, and he's throwing in another name, and he says, "How about Mike